The light softened, deepening the shadows along the walls with a quiet grace. A gentle breeze stirred through the open window, barely rustling the curtains. Outside, rain fell softly on the cobblestones, a steady and muted rhythm. The scent of damp earth drifted in, mingling with the faint aroma of old books. A single candle flickered on a nearby table, its flame dancing without urgency. Across the floor, the polished wood reflected the light in long, shimmering streaks. Time seemed to slow, each moment stretching into an endless expanse of stillness. The air grew cooler, wrapping around you like a comforting blanket. A distant chime echoed faintly from somewhere far away, almost lost in the quiet. Everything settled deeper, sinking gently into a peaceful and unwavering calm. The shimmering streaks on the wood deepened, becoming pools of soft amber light. Dust motes drifted lazily within those pools, suspended in a timeless dance. A gentle breeze stirred through the window, barely whispering against the glass. It carried with it the scent of damp earth and distant rain, a quiet fragrance. The chime echoed again, fainter this time, like a memory fading into twilight. Shadows lengthened slowly across the room, softening the edges of everything they touched. A single candle flickered on a nearby table, its flame breathing with a steady rhythm. The blanket around you grew heavier, comforting weight against your skin. Outside, the world continued to turn, but here time seemed to pause completely. Everything was bathed in a soft, muted glow, inviting stillness and quiet rest. The candle's light painted the wall with dancing shapes, shifting and reforming with each breath of air. Dust motes drifted lazily in the golden beam, suspended like tiny stars in a quiet galaxy. A gentle breeze stirred through the curtains, whispering secrets only the night could understand. The floorboard sighed softly beneath the weight of the house, settling deeper into the earth. Beyond the window pane, the distant murmur of the wind blended with the rustling leaves on ancient trees. Shadows deepened in the corners, pooling like dark water against the walls. A faint scent of lavender drifted from a nearby sachet, calming and familiar. The blanket felt even more secure now, a warm embrace holding you close. Each slow blink brought a deeper sense of peace, a quiet surrender to the stillness. Time flowed like honey, thick and golden, each moment melting into the next. The lavender scent deepened slightly, mingling with the faintest trace of wood smoke from a distant hearth. Dust motes danced in the single beam of moonlight filtering through the window pane, swirling slowly like tiny galaxies. A gentle breeze stirred the curtains, causing them to ripple and sigh against the stillness. The rhythmic ticking of a grandfather clock somewhere far away marked the passage of time with quiet insistence. Your breath deepened, mirroring the slow rise and fall of your chest beneath the blanket's weight. Outside, the branches of an ancient oak tree swayed almost imperceptibly in the night air. The shadows continued to lengthen, softening the edges of familiar objects into indistinct shapes. A single star appeared in the darkening sky, a tiny spark of light against the vastness above. Warmth settled deeper within you, a comforting weight that eased every muscle and thought. The world outside faded further, becoming just a whisper of sounds and sensations beyond reach. The star grew a little brighter, then seemed to hold its breath in the deepening blue. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves of the oak, creating a soft rustling like distant waves on a quiet shore. Below, the grass shimmered faintly under the starlight, each blade tipped with silver. The shadows deepened further still, blurring the line between earth and sky. A faint scent of damp earth and night-blooming jasmine drifted in on the breeze. Time seemed to slow, stretching out like a long, quiet sigh. Somewhere far away, a dog barked once, then fell silent again into the stillness. The warmth within you deepened, a gentle embrace that cradled your every sense. A single firefly blinked into existence, a fleeting spark of light in the darkness. The oak tree stood sentinel, its ancient branches reaching towards the heavens with unwavering patience. The firefly drifted slowly, a tiny ember carried on the breath of the night. Beneath the oak tree, shadows deepened and softened, blurring the edges of the world. A gentle breeze stirred through the leaves, whispering secrets only the ancient wood understood. The warmth within you pulsed softly, mirroring the slow rhythm of your breathing. Distant stars began to appear, faint pinpricks of light in the vast expanse above. The scent of damp earth and moss rose gently on the air, a comforting fragrance. A single owl called out, its voice a low hum that faded into the stillness. Time flowed like honey, thick and golden, each moment blending seamlessly into the next. The oak bark felt cool against an unseen hand resting upon it, a silent connection to ages past. Another firefly appeared, then another, until they dotted the darkness with quiet light. The fireflies pulsed with a gentle rhythm, their tiny lights mirroring the slow beat of a distant heart. Shadows deepened beneath the oak's sprawling branches, softening the edges of the world. A faint mist began to drift across the meadow, clinging softly to the tall grasses. The owl's hum returned, even quieter now, a breath against the stillness. Each firefly blinked in its own time, creating patterns that shifted and dissolved like dreams. Dewdrops gathered on the leaves, reflecting the faint light of the stars above. A gentle breeze stirred, carrying with it the scent of pine needles and distant rain. The unseen hand remained upon the oak's bark, feeling the slow pulse of its ancient life. More fireflies joined their silent dance, weaving threads of light through the deepening dusk. Time continued to flow, a quiet river carrying all things towards an unknown shore. The fireflies pulsed, their tiny lights blinking in a rhythm older than memory. Shadows lengthened beneath the oak, deepening into pools of quiet darkness. A single owl called softly from far away, its sound swallowed by the stillness. The breeze shifted slightly, bringing with it the faintest whisper of damp earth. Dewdrops clung to spiderwebs, shimmering like miniature galaxies. The unseen hand remained still, a silent observer of the unfolding night. A distant stream murmured, its water flowing endlessly towards the sea. The scent of pine needles intensified, mingling with the cool air. Stars appeared one by one in the vast expanse above, each a tiny spark of light. Time flowed onward, smooth and unwavering as polished stone. The stars grew brighter, their light softening the edges of the forest below. A gentle breeze stirred through the pine branches, whispering a quiet song. Shadows lengthened and deepened, pooling beneath the ancient trees like dark water. The stream's murmur continued, a constant lullaby carried on the night air. High above, the moon began its slow ascent, casting a silvery glow upon the landscape. A solitary owl drifted silently across the sky, a fleeting silhouette against the stars. The scent of damp earth rose from the forest floor, cool and grounding. Each star seemed to pulse with a faint internal light, expanding and contracting gently. The unseen hand remained motionless, bathed in the soft moonlight filtering through the leaves. Time continued its steady flow, an endless river carrying all things onward. The moonlight deepened, painting the forest floor in shades of silver and gray. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves, whispering secrets only the trees could understand. Distant crickets chirped a slow rhythmic song, blending with the rustling foliage. The owl's shadow passed again, a silent dance across the landscape below. Each pulse of starlight seemed to echo in the stillness, a quiet vibration felt more than heard. A single firefly blinked into existence, then faded slowly back into the darkness. The unseen hand remained still, reflecting the pale light like polished stone. Dewdrops clung to the ferns, shimmering with captured starlight. The scent of damp earth mingled with the faint fragrance of night-blooming jasmine. Time flowed onward, a continuous current smoothing away all edges and boundaries. The ferns released a tiny sigh as the night deepened, their fronds drooping ever so slightly. A gentle breeze stirred through the leaves, carrying with it the faintest whisper of distant rain. The polished stone remained unchanged, absorbing and reflecting the quiet luminescence around. Each dewdrop pulsed softly, a miniature world holding a fragment of the vast night sky. The jasmine's fragrance grew subtly richer, a sweet counterpoint to the earthy scent below. Shadows lengthened imperceptibly, stretching across the mossy ground like silent rivers. A single cricket chirped, its sound fading as quickly as it appeared into the stillness. The unseen hand continued its vigil, an unwavering presence in the tranquil space. Time drifted onward, a slow and steady rhythm like the breathing of the earth itself. The fireflies blinked again, their brief lights painting fleeting patterns on the darkness. The moss, damp and cool beneath the lengthening shadows, absorbed the last warmth of the day. A gentle breeze stirred through the tall grasses, whispering secrets only the night could understand. Higher above, the stars began to prick the darkening canvas of the sky, faint at first and growing steadily brighter. The unseen hand adjusted a single candle flame, its light casting dancing shapes upon the nearby stones. Each blink of a firefly was mirrored by another, creating a silent conversation across the meadow. A distant owl called softly, a low and mournful sound that blended seamlessly with the quiet night. The scent of damp earth and blooming honeysuckle drifted on the air, heavy and sweet. Time flowed like water over smooth stones, each moment indistinguishable from the last. Shadows deepened around the ancient trees, their forms becoming more mysterious in the fading light. A single leaf detached itself from a branch above, drifting slowly downwards to settle upon the moss. The moss, a deep emerald green, absorbed the falling leaf without a sound. A gentle breeze stirred through the branches, causing them to sway with an almost imperceptible rhythm. Deeper within the woods, fireflies began to blink, tiny points of light in the growing darkness. The scent of honeysuckle intensified slightly, mingling with the cool fragrance of night-blooming jasmine. A small stream gurgled softly nearby, its water reflecting the faint starlight above. Shadows lengthened and blurred, softening the edges of everything they touched. High above, the moon emerged from behind a veil of clouds, casting a pale silver glow across the landscape. The ancient trees stood silent watch. A lone cat sat motionless on a weathered stone wall, observing the shifting patterns of light and shadow. Time continued its slow, steady flow, carrying everything along with it in a quiet current. The silver light deepened, painting the moss on the ancient trees with a shimmering sheen. A gentle breeze stirred through the leaves, whispering secrets only the forest understood. The cat's eyes reflected the moonlight, twin pools of quiet observation. Dust motes danced in the pale beams, swirling slowly like tiny stars. Below the wall, a stream murmured softly, its waters gliding over smooth stones. Each ripple expanded outwards, then faded back into stillness, repeating endlessly. The air grew cooler, carrying the scent of damp earth and distant pine needles. A faint mist began to gather in the hollows between the trees, blurring the already softened landscape. The moon climbed higher, its light growing ever so slightly brighter with each passing moment. Everything settled deeper into stillness, a quiet embrace of night. The mist deepened, clinging to the lower branches like a gentle shroud. A single firefly blinked into existence, then another, their lights drifting slowly through the stillness. The moon's light touched the moss-covered stones. Distant water murmured, a low continuous sigh against the quiet earth. Shadows lengthened beneath the trees, stretching and softening with each slow rotation of the world. A lone owl perched silently on a high branch, its form barely visible against the darkening sky. The scent of pine needles intensified, mingling with the cool dampness of the air. Time seemed to flow like honey, thick and unhurried, pooling in every corner. Small clouds drifted across the moon's face, momentarily dimming its glow before releasing it again. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves, creating a soft rustling sound that faded as quickly as it began. The owl remained, a dark silhouette against the deepening blue, its gaze fixed on something unseen below. Below, the forest floor absorbed the last of the sunlight, becoming a tapestry of shadow and muted greens. A single firefly blinked into existence, then another, their tiny lights like scattered embers in the stillness. The breeze continued to whisper through the branches, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and distant rain. Higher still, the moon peeked out from behind a veil of clouds, casting a pale silver light upon the landscape. A small stream gurgled softly nearby, its water reflecting the faint moonlight like liquid mercury. The pine needles underfoot felt cool and yielding with each slow passage of time. Far off, a distant dog barked once, then fell silent again, swallowed by the quiet expanse. The clouds shifted slowly, revealing more of the moon's gentle face, bathing everything in its soft glow. A sense of profound stillness settled over the forest, a deep and comforting peace. The moonlight deepened, painting the moss-covered stones with silver light. A gentle breeze stirred through the branches overhead, whispering secrets only the trees could understand. Each pine needle seemed to hold a tiny droplet of moonlight, shimmering softly. The stream continued its quiet journey, smoothing the pebbles beneath its surface. Shadows lengthened and softened, blurring the edges of everything they touched. A lone owl blinked slowly from a high branch, observing the stillness below. Time seemed to slow further, each moment stretching into an eternity of peace. The scent of damp earth and pine filled the air, a grounding fragrance. The clouds drifted on, their shapes changing imperceptibly with the passing moments. A distant firefly blinked once, then another, tiny sparks in the vast darkness. The owl's gaze remained fixed, a silent sentinel against the deepening blue. Below, the grass swayed gently in an almost imperceptible breeze, whispering secrets to itself. A single leaf detached from a branch above, spiraling down with languid grace. The fireflies continued their quiet dance, small beacons in the velvet night. Deeper into the woods, shadows lengthened and softened, blurring the edges of trees. The scent of pine deepened slightly, mingling with the cool dampness rising from the ground. A faint mist began to gather near the base of the ancient oaks, clinging like a soft veil. The clouds continued their slow procession across the sky, morphing into shapes that dissolved as quickly as they appeared. Somewhere far away, water murmured softly against stones, a constant gentle rhythm. A feeling of profound stillness settled over everything, a quiet embrace. The mist thickened just a little, softening the edges of the trees into gentle curves. A single firefly blinked into existence, then faded again, its light swallowed by the deepening twilight. The clouds shifted once more, revealing a sliver of pale moonlight filtering through their gray expanse. The murmur of water grew almost imperceptible, blending seamlessly with the rustling of leaves high above. A lone owl settled silently onto a branch, its form barely visible against the dark bark. The scent of pine deepened further, becoming a comforting presence in the cool air. Time seemed to slow even more, each moment stretching into an eternity of quiet observation. The dampness on the ground felt smooth and cool beneath unseen feet, a gentle touch. A faint shimmer appeared on the surface of the water, reflecting the pale moonlight like scattered silver. Everything breathed with a slow, steady rhythm, the trees, the mist, the very air itself. The silver shimmer on the water deepened, becoming a pathway of light, barely visible through the mist. A single leaf detached itself from a high branch, drifting down with an almost imperceptible grace. The scent of pine mingled now with the faintest trace of damp earth, a grounding fragrance. Shadows lengthened and softened, blurring the edges of the trees against the fading light. The air grew heavier, not with cold but with a stillness that settled deep within. A distant owl called softly, its sound swallowed quickly by the surrounding quietude. The moonlight painted long, pale streaks across the moss-covered stones nearby. Each breath felt slow and deliberate, mirroring the rhythm of the ancient forest. The dampness on the ground remained constant, a cool reassurance against unskinned skin. A gentle breeze stirred the surface of the water, creating fleeting patterns of light and shadow. The moonlight deepened, shifting the pale streaks into pools of silver on the moss. A single leaf detached itself from a high branch, drifting down with an almost imperceptible grace. The water continued its slow dance, reflecting the moon in fractured fragments. Deeper within the forest, shadows lengthened and blurred, becoming one with the darkness. The dampness held the scent of earth and ancient wood, a quiet fragrance filling the air. A faint mist began to rise from the water's surface, clinging softly to the stones. Each ripple on the water's face seemed to hold a memory of moonlight long past. The breeze whispered through the trees, a sighing sound that faded as quickly as it came. A distant firefly blinked once, then twice, its light swallowed by the surrounding gloom. Time flowed like the water, steady and unchanging, carrying everything with it. The mist deepened, softening the edges of everything it touched, blurring the line between water and shore. A single heron stood motionless on a distant bank, its form barely visible in the gray light. The fireflies continued their silent dance, brief sparks against an endless dark canvas. Each blink seemed to release a tiny puff of stardust into the stillness. The water's surface grew smoother still, reflecting the faint glow above like a polished stone. A gentle rain began to fall, each drop barely audible as it kissed the leaves and stones. It was a rain that didn't rush, but settled softly, a quiet blessing on the world. The scent of damp earth rose from the ground, mingling with the cool air. A lone lamp flickered within a small cottage window, casting a warm, amber glow. The light pulsed gently, a steady rhythm in the deepening night. The rain continued its quiet descent. Inside the cottage, the amber light from the lamp seemed to breathe with the rhythm of the falling rain. Shadows stretched and softened across the walls, deepening with each passing moment. A faint mist began to gather in the garden, blurring the edges of the flower bed. The scent of damp earth grew richer, a grounding fragrance carried on the gentle breeze. Beyond the cottage, the trees stood motionless, their leaves glistening under the soft rain. A distant owl called softly, its sound swallowed by the quiet embrace of the night. The lamp's glow reflected in the wet stones of the path leading to the door. Time seemed to slow further, each second a long, peaceful sigh. The world outside was wrapped in a veil of gentle gray and amber light. The rain continued its gentle descent, a soft drumming against the leaves and stone. A faint mist began to rise from the earth, blurring the edges of the trees in the distance. The lamp's light pulsed softly, casting elongated shadows that shifted with the breeze. Somewhere far away, water flowed steadily over smooth stones, a constant, quiet murmur. Each droplet clinging to a leaf shimmered with reflected amber and gray hues. A solitary figure walked slowly along the path, their form barely visible in the muted light. The scent of damp earth and moss filled the air, heavy and comforting. The owl's call echoed again, fainter this time, as if drifting further away. The stones underfoot felt cool and smooth against bare skin, a grounding presence. Time seemed to ripple outwards from the lamp's glow, stretching into an endless quiet. The lamp's light pooled gently, a warm circle against the deepening twilight. Shadows lengthened and softened, blurring the edges of the path ahead. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves overhead, whispering secrets only the trees understood. Each stone held the memory of countless rains, smoothed by time's patient hand. The figure continued onward, a silent silhouette against the fading light. Distant water murmured, a low and constant hum in the stillness. Moss clung to the stones, velvety and cool beneath the touch. The air grew heavier with the scent of pine needles and damp soil. A single star appeared, faint and shimmering high above. The rhythm of footsteps on stone became a quiet pulse within the deepening night. The star grew a little brighter, casting the faintest silver glow upon the moss. Footsteps continued their slow journey, each one sinking softly into the ancient stone path. A gentle breeze stirred through the pine branches, whispering secrets only the trees understood. Shadows lengthened and deepened, blurring the edges of the world in shades of gray and blue. The scent of damp earth mingled with the resinous fragrance of the pines, a comforting blend. Distant water continued its murmuring song, a lullaby for the sleeping forest. A single firefly blinked into existence, a tiny spark against the vastness of the night sky. The rhythm of breathing slowed, mirroring the quiet pulse of the footsteps on stone. Cool air settled upon the skin, a gentle embrace in the deepening stillness. Time seemed to soften and stretch, losing its sharp edges as darkness deepened. The firefly blinked again, a fleeting glimmer swallowed by the deepening blue. Shadows lengthened from the ancient stones, pooling like dark water at their base. A faint scent of damp earth and moss drifted on the still air. The footsteps continued onward, each one barely disturbing the quiet dust. Stars began to appear, tiny pinpricks of light in the immense darkness above. Coolness deepened with each passing moment, a comforting weight upon the eyelids. Distant water whispered secrets only the stones could understand. The lamp's glow pulsed softly, casting long, wavering shapes on the wall. A gentle breeze stirred through the leaves, rustling them in a silent sigh. Everything slowed, everything softened, dissolving into the quiet embrace of night. The shadows lengthened, pooling like dark honey across the floor. A single star appeared in the vastness above, a tiny spark of silver light. The scent of damp earth rose gently, mingling with the faintest trace of pine. Each pulse of the lamp seemed to deepen the stillness around it. Dust motes danced slowly in the lamplight. The breeze continued its quiet journey through the trees, a barely perceptible sigh. A distant owl called softly, a low hum swallowed by the night's vastness. The stones outside absorbed the coolness, radiating it back slowly into the air. Time seemed to flow like water, smooth and unwavering, without beginning or end. Even the silence held a texture, a soft blanket woven from darkness and peace. The moonlight deepened, painting the leaves with silver that shifted with every breath of air. A single firefly blinked into existence, a tiny spark against the deepening blue. The scent of damp earth rose gently, mingling with the faint fragrance of night-blooming jasmine. Shadows lengthened and blurred at the edges, softening the forms of everything they touched. The distant owl called again, its sound fading into the stillness like a memory. A small stream murmured nearby, its water reflecting the stars in fractured patterns. The keeper adjusted the lamp's flame with slow, deliberate movements, ensuring its gentle glow remained constant. Each stone held the warmth of the day, releasing it slowly to the cool night air. The breeze whispered through tall grasses, creating a rippling wave of silver and shadow. Time continued its quiet unfolding, each moment blending seamlessly into the next. The lamp's light pooled softly on the stones, deepening their muted colors. A single star pulsed faintly in the vastness above, its light a distant echo. The grasses swayed with an almost imperceptible rhythm, like breathing. Each ripple on the stream carried a fleeting reflection of the moon's pale face. The air grew heavier, saturated with the scent of damp earth and night-blooming flowers. Shadows lengthened and blurred at the edges, softening the boundaries between things. A quiet stillness settled over everything, broken only by the stream's gentle murmur. The keeper's hand remained steady as they watched the flame dance with a slow grace. Distant hills faded into darkness, their outlines dissolving into the night sky. The warmth from the stones seeped deeper, a comforting presence against the cool air.